Well, I was an ICU nurse for many years. So I was an ICU nurse for like half of my career, which I really, when I first became a nurse, I had this idea of what my like nursing career was going to be, which was like I'm going to be in the ICU for 2 years. Then I'm going to go back to school to be for anesthesia. Like I had a whole plan of like what I was going to do. And then after 2 years of being in the ICU, I was like, this sucks. I don't think I want to be a nurse anymore. What am I going to do? And then I still stayed there for probably another 4 or 5 years. And because I was an ICU nurse, that led me into wanting to be, which I'll get into palliative in a second, a palliative care, a hospice nurse. I just knew like people are going to die. That's inevitable. That's what's going to happen. End of story, period. Some way. We're all going to die. If that is the case, and I'm a nurse, how is that going? What do I want that to look like for me? Because I don't like watching people die in the ICU. I don't like it. So that's what led me to hospice and palliative care. Palliative care, I mean, I could talk about what the differences are like for a whole podcast. I think it's kind of boring, but there's a lot of differences between hospice and palliative care. But generally speaking, palliative care to me is a no-brainer. Everyone should do it. If a doctor mentions it to you, you should do it because all it's doing is giving you extra help. It's a symptom management program, generally speaking, right? You have some kind of disease. It's usually life-limiting, but you're not necessarily dying yet, right? But you're on some kind of treatment and it's making you sick and you have a lot of symptoms. Palliative care is the program that's going to help manage those symptoms better. So I do that and I do hospice. A lot of times you hear the two linked together, but they definitely are different things. Now that I can look back, I've been a nurse for 16 years. Looking back, I can see how all of my experiences in life, generally speaking, have led me to this, right? I think when I was an ICU nurse, I always had, I think, a good bedside manner. I've always liked people. I think that's something that's kind of either born in you or not, like being able to connect to people. And not everyone has that like ability. That's okay. It's not even a criticism. It's just like not everyone has that, right? They connect more to animals or to nature, right? I seem to be able to connect to people just naturally. So that was always there. But I definitely had days like when I was thinking about you when you were saying like some nurses were all business. I had days where I just didn't like my job so much that like I did a good job, but like I probably wasn't the best to be around. I can admit that. And that's when I knew like, girl, you got to get out of this. You can't be this type of nurse anymore because like you hate it. And so I think it took me finding hospice, which is something I love. I love it. I would do it for free. Not 40 hours a week, but I would do it for free. I really would. I would do this for free because I love it. So that helps. And and then just the experience of me being confident in like my work because I've been a nurse for 16 years. That also helps. So it's time, it's experience, and then I love it. I love it. If I always tell nurses, if you're a nurse, you're needed everywhere. If you don't like what you're doing, leave. Do a different type of nursing. You gotta find what you like because once you do, that's like your superpower. And you can create something like this. You can not that everyone wants to have a TikTok following or like a YouTube channel, but I think it works for me because I genuinely love it. And I think people can see that when I talk about it. Talk about like things just happening. So I had two friends at the time, 4 years ago. I think this is what it's been 4 years now, whose parents were dying and they were close friends of mine, right? So they're calling me. I'm telling them all the things I tell everybody that I work with, right? All the patients I see. And they've been my friends for years. And they were kind of like, Julie, how have we known you for so long? And like, we didn't ever talk about this. We didn't know that like you knew this stuff. We didn't know because I never really talked about, no one wants to hear what a hospice nurse has to say usually in like, at a dinner party, right? So they were like, I can't believe we've known you forever and like we didn't know you knew all this stuff and we didn't know like you're really good at like talking about this. This like makes so much sense. You should do something with this. So they kind of put the thing in my ear of like you need to tell more people about this. You need to educate more. And I randomly went home to see my nieces who were like tweens and on TikTok. And I thought TikTok is like what everyone thinks it is, like to do dances for like little kids. I don't know. I was almost 40, but I was on TikTok to watch their TikToks. And then I started seeing people on TikTok making videos about like gardening and like space. And they were like my age and I liked their videos. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to make a few videos and see what happens. And I literally made, I think I had like 5 ideas of like all the normal things I usually say. No lighting, nothing, literally just turned on my camera and talked. And like 4 videos in, it went viral. One of them went viral. I had like 10,000 followers overnight, then 100,000 in a month, and then like 1 million in a year. No hustle, no trying. And I owe it to, I think, like I said, I love what I was talking about, and people could probably feel that and see that. I definitely didn't feel like it was time. I resisted it because one, I'm not a reader. I'm not specifically a reader. So I was kind of like, who's going to want to read this, right? Like all my information's on videos. That's how I want to do it, right? But over time, more and more people, more and more followers, more and more just people on the street, and people reaching out and saying, "Hey, this needs to be put into a book." Not everyone wants to be on TikTok. Not everyone wants to watch YouTube videos. Like people like to read, and it was hard for me to finally accept that because I kept being like, I don't know if this is something, I just don't know. But enough people were kind of like, listen, this is people actually need this. This will help people. That made me be like, okay. And then I knew if I was going to do it, I wanted to do it my way. I knew I needed to include stories so it didn't feel just like a textbook, right? But I was like adamant that like it had an index because I wanted people to like, if people are stressed out during their time when their loved one's dying and they want to know something about pain, I don't want them to have to flip through this book. I want them to be able to know, okay, pain, that's covered on page 86 through 96 or whatever, right? So I wanted to make sure that it was accessible, easy to read, and something that could be hopefully comforting to people who are going through this difficult time. Um, and hence how the book was born. And the book, I like to preface this. The book is called Nothing to Fear, which I think is a little bold. Even I was like, are we really going to make it like this? But I talk about it in the book that it's not really nothing to fear. It's more like normal to fear. It's normal. And like the more we just talk about, like, this is scary. It's like the great unknown. No one knows what's going to happen after we die. No one really wants to die for the most part. Um, but we still should talk about it. And what I've seen with my own eyes through watching many people die is that the people who are willing to talk about it, the less and less they feared it. Right. So it's like, yeah, you're afraid. Let's talk about it anyway. And the more you do, probably the less afraid you'll be. That's like the longest chapter in my book, Deathbed Phenomena. And I am someone, I mean, I'm not religious, but I do now believe in something after we die. Not that that matters, but I haven't always. Um, but it's important to bring it up the deathbed phenomena because it happens. Like I was an ICU nurse for many years. When I first became a hospice nurse, we give everyone this little packet, which I love. It's this little blue book written by a hospice nurse named Barbara Carnes. And she basically tells you what it's like to die just from watching so many people die over her years of being a hospice nurse. And it's a great book. But in it, I remember reading like around a month before people die, you may start seeing your loved one who's dying, seeing and talking to people who aren't there, talking to dead relatives, talking to old pets. And I'm thinking, this lady wrote in this book that's what's going on here? She's a nurse. Why is she saying stuff like this? Right. So I was even like, what are we dealing with here? I'm not going to be telling people this, right? But then you start seeing it over and over with your own eyes that it's like literally a sign of someone dying soon. So like I know, because I've seen it so many times, that like if someone starts telling me that they're seeing their dead dad and saying like he's coming to get me soon, I feel good about this, I'm okay, like I don't understand it, but this is what's happening with me. I know they're about a month out. They will usually die within a month after that starts happening, and it happens all the time. And there's different different deathbed phenomena than just visioning. That's what visioning is called. It's when they see dead relatives, dead loved ones. There's like the death stare, the death reach, where they're kind of reaching up to something, saying hello to somebody. Um, the rally is a big one that happens, which is like a burst of energy right before they die. And we don't know why it happens. And we don't really claim to know. We just know that it does. There definitely could be a medical explanation. But I think it's important to know that as of right now, we don't have one. And it's not for things people always say, oh, well, it's probably lack of oxygen or it's probably delirium. I can say with wholeheartedness that it's not those things because I know what that stuff looks like as a nurse. You know, I know what ICU psychosis looks like. I know what delirium looks like. I know what people who are confused and have low oxygen looks like. This is not it. These people are alert oriented for the most part and just saying, I'm seeing my mom. It's pretty wild. I mean, it actually is almost commonplace now for me because you see it so often, but yeah. So this whole thing is all about when people send me message. People always say, you're probably not going to see this message. And granted, I don't see a lot of the messages, but I do see many of them. And that's the kind of stuff that like keeps me doing it because it can feel old at times. I still work as a nurse, which is like what gives me fuel to keep doing it. I don't work full time as a nurse, but I didn't even work full time as a nurse before I started this whole hospice nurse Julie thing, which is a whole nother story. Um, but like being an actual nurse feels more comfortable to me, right? The whole like social media thing is the thing that I have to work at now. It came natural. It came natural like at first, but after years, it's like, how many more videos can I make? So what keeps me going is people sending me messages and saying like, you really helped me. This one video specifically helped me. Though that's the kind of stuff. Your book really helped me. Like they'll be like, I bought your book, I read it, it really helped me. I bought 4 more for my friends. It's like, oh my gosh, thank you. Well, one, thank you. And two, I'm so grateful that this is slowly getting because well quickly. And then what I'm happy about is that like the promotions really helped, right? So I was a New York Times bestseller the first week, which is amazing. And it's been almost a year. And even a year in, it's slowly, it's showing that like people are buying it and then giving it out, buying it and giving it away. So that makes me really happy thinking about these books are getting out to people. It's really helping them.